The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're discussing first here on the channel, because as a day trader, you need to understand futures before you can get into specific equities. If you want to fast forward to the end of the video to see what my view on equities is and what stocks I like for options trading, then just fast forward to that part. But hopefully this breaks down and gives you some context. So as we look here, you can see the Nasdaq clearly here on the daily platform is breaking out, still clearly happening. Now, we had some interesting news over the weekend about, the downgrade. We're going to go over that here in a second. But what I want to highlight here on the 4-hour chart is just this, right? So this was our level that we needed to break. It was our previous high that we established back here in October. But we also knew this 15.4 level was massive. We've been talking about it for days and weeks. And we said, if you break above this, that's where bulls really can take control. And that's what can lead the end of the year rally. Now, I'm going to go into that fundamental news as well, but we need to understand this, okay? So what happens here? Now, everyone this weekend, you probably saw. You were like, hey, look, oh my God, they downgraded us again. We're going to collapse. Now, could we collapse? Could we drop still? Yes. But the biggest thing at hand right now isn't even what happened from the downgrade, which we're going to talk about that again. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow is CPI. It's our inflation reading. We're going to talk about that in particular here because I believe that could be the catalyst that we need to push us higher. Now, as we see here, where do we come back into? We came almost right back into that 15.47 level. We bounced off of it perfectly. You go to the 5-minute time frame here this morning at market open. You dip right down at 845, 850. You bounce right off of it, and it's basically bouncing and buyers take control for the rest of the day. It's also worth mentioning sellers really did nothing. When we look at volume, it was one of the lowest volume days on the market right here, right? Now, I'll just use Yahoo Finance as an example. 52 million. If you use our, custom script that we have down here as well, you can really see just a better example here on the daily of this action, right? Sellers try to step in for a majority of this day, but again, they're just met with no follow through power, which is, again, has been the story over the past few days and weeks, right? So we have to understand where we're at and kind of how we're trading here. So that's what I'm looking at. Very strong daily close here, like what I'm seeing. But again, tomorrow, we have some new battles there. Now, before we go into that, to ask you to do two things. Consider liking and subscribing. Helps out the channel tremendously. I'm not going to go too heavy into that, but Monday through Friday, we're always posting videos here, keeping you up to date. We have no spots in Discord, so I'm sorry. The link will be down below when that does become available, but currently we are just completely filled. That's it right now. Also, too, if you're interested in seeing how we have these indicators here, we have this, custom script down here as well. The link for that is down below as well, so make sure you check that out. Chart Prime, proud sponsor of the channel. They're working with us to get all new custom scripts, and we should have a new one coming out for Black Friday as well, which will be added into anyone that's already currently subscribed. So what we're looking at here, let's go right into this. So this is Friday's news. Okay, this is what came out Friday after market close. Now, I will say, I had a lot of comments about this. Everyone was like, Tyler, do you think it was shady what they did? Should they have done this? I'm like, dude, I don't really care. But it kind of looks like they did this in the after hours. Moody's turns negative on U.S. credit rating. Now, when you first read this, you think it's very bad. You assume it's what happened with Fitch, and it's not whatsoever. If you follow me on Twitter, okay, I recommend doing this because on Twitter, I try to keep you guys as updated as possible. And I've made sure I had a long post on this on Saturday going over what was happening here. And what I said down here was right here at the very bottom. Important to know we are still at a AAA rating. That's the very important part. Because when you read this, it makes you think that they downgraded the credit here, which they did not. They did not. Turns negative, there is no direct downgrade. So basically what they said is we were stable and they put us to negative. Okay. Now the difference between what happened previously and what happened now, right? You can scroll down a little bit further. The link should be down below if you want to check this out, right? If you go down below, you can see right here, Moody's is the last of the 3 major rating agencies to maintain a top rating for the U.S. government. Now, this may change based on what's happening here. Fitch changes ratings from AAA minus or negative AAA to AA plus in August. There, okay, boom, okay. We're still AAA on Moody's, right? I'm getting all the names confused. Now, what did they say here? Surprise, surprise. What was the reasoning here? Let's zoom in. It's what we've been saying. The rating agency has said in the statement, continued political polarization in the U.S. Congress raises risk that lawmakers will not be able to reach consensus on a fiscal plan to slow the decline in debt and affordability. Any type of significant policy response that we might be able to see to this declining fiscal strength probably won't happen until 2025 when the new elections happen. because the reality of the political calendar next year. We've been saying this, so I don't really know what to say. It's kind of like everything. It's like all the concerns that we've had are just like things that we've already known. So anything that's coming to like to our attention now, I'm just like, I mean, we already talked about this. So what else do we say? So that's why when I said here, I think CPI, this was Saturday, I think CPI is the biggest thing here. I think energy, what's happening with healthcare, and even, you know, rent prices dropping as well. Those are going to be the big factors here. We need to wait and see what the data comes out tomorrow morning. If you don't know, it does happen tomorrow morning. CPI right here, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Central, 7:30 a.m. Central, 8:30 Eastern. Okay. Now, this was also just released from Moody's. Okay, I just posted this on Twitter like 8 minutes ago. The link for Twitter is down below. You should be following. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, Moody's affirmed the long-term deposit ratings, basically going into banks and what's happened. Now they're talking more about banks. Okay, so the banks still strong, but they did downgrade some of the deposits for those banks as well. But the majority of them still very strong. Okay, they know the change in the outlook of the government. Again, the government is the catalyst here. The outlook on government of the U.S. had no impact on the score for the macro profile of the U.S. banking system, which remains strong. Okay, so again, so when you come back into what's happening with big banks and what their viewpoint is there, they're saying we still look fine. They don't even affect it. So the economy as a whole, by itself, they believe looks good. We need to understand that. However, the one deterrence, the one thing that doesn't look good across the board is what's happening with the House and what's happening with the government, which we talked about when a new elected official came in. And why did he come in? Is because McCarthy tried to work with the liberals, right? That's literally what happened. Okay. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. All I care about on this channel, what is making money and understand what the market's going to give us. And so what did we know from that? When they kicked McCarthy out for not doing what the Republicans wanted to do, we knew whoever they brought in was going to be probably a little bit more extreme and wouldn't waver on anything. Okay, so this was not a surprise. This was not a surprise whatsoever. And this is further evidence that this is all based on political agenda and not to do with the actual health of the economy. Very important. This is not based on inflation numbers. This is not based even on yields, even on bonds. It's not. Okay, now let's jump back in here. And I have to go over this. I know it's boring. I know I'm trying to get less views on this type of content, but I have to because, again, I don't want you guys to be misled via Twitter or other social media platforms, okay? So now when we jump in here, if the market was really bearish, if investors took that as a sign of, okay, the market inherently has a lot of downside potential, inflation's still a major issue, then you would have saw DXY respond accordingly. Again, 2 days back-to-back of downside, Friday and then today. You also rejected off that key level. Remember, we mentioned this on Friday's video. Go check it out if you need to. You tried to mount, you broke down, retested, and then boom. Right? This is today, and then you happened here. You tried to mount all day on Friday. You couldn't. You broke back down. Boom. Okay? And it's important to realize that this happened at market open for the United States. Again, if you're going to get any type of bullish behavior in the DXY, it should happen when U.S. markets open, not in their pre-market, okay? So you saw that pre-market strength and then it dropped back down to our next key level. Very important. Probably next level is right here, 105.5. The chart prime level is mentioned there also. Now, a step further, we look at yields. Again, yields, you need to be looking at the daily time frame to get a better view. You saw a quick little spike on the day, but it met by immediate selling back to the downside, right? 30 or 10 year still pretty decent for the downside. 2 and 5 look the same as they have been, right? But they're still falling to 10 and 30, okay? Now, you're not going to get confirmation on bonds and yields in the dollar until inflation data comes out. If it comes out cool, better than or lower than expected, well, then guess what? In my opinion, yields take a pretty big tumble. We already saw what happened in the overall outlook of the bond market. You know, was it Gunlock? I forgot exactly who it was. It was a few days ago we posted here on the channel who said that he believes the bonds have reached their absolute bottom and it's time to buy. And he has been, an overall savant when it comes to finding these levels. So when it comes to bonds. So again, when we look at what's happening and where we're at, it's important to realize that, in my opinion, this news here, right, what's coming out specifically from Moody's, it is not based on the health of the economy. It is based on political agenda, which is totally separate. Now, again, if they downgraded AA, will it affect the market? Yes. 100%, but we're not there yet, so there's no point in worrying about that just yet. And also, too, it's important to realize and from a day trader perspective, that's not a problem until next month. I hate to even say it. I hate to, but I hate for people to come to this channel and they say, well, Tyler, I missed out on the run, or I missed this, I did this because, so-and-so said, and, this we're supposed to dump, but I was just a month early. Well, as a day trader, if you're a month early, you're a loser. That's the reality of the situation. And I have to say that because ultimately it comes back down for you making money. And when we're looking at this chart, what's happening here, our focus is this week going into next week. We can have longer term viewpoints, but those are long-term trades. Those are not short-term trades. So you have to be able to, go based on the trade plan and what's in front of you. I can only say that so much. So that's my viewpoint there. I hope that makes sense. Let's go into some equity. So right now, I still like the behavior from NQ. Now, what I'm going to tell you right now is going into tomorrow, there's nothing set in stone. There's no clear cut. This is where we're going. We're going up. We're going down. There's none of that. Okay. So tomorrow morning, you need to have this up. Okay. Investing.com. I'll also post it on Twitter. So if you're following, I'll post it there bright and early. Probably 7:35, maybe 5 minutes after. Give me a little bit of wiggle room. CPI data. This is all that matters. Okay. Other stuff, minor. CPI will carry the market. Okay, and the PPI the day after. If CPI comes in good, I believe you're pushing up to 15.6, 15.7 easily, very easily. But I also think we're just going to continue running. I think it'll be easy. I think it's just smooth selling from that point. ES, you're basically just sitting at resistance, 44.30. You're trying to get above this. I think the level is actually like 44.26, which you're above, but you're still trying to break the highs that we had back here in October, which I think you will. And again, what does this remind you of, right? Remember, really go back to see like the similarities of, where we've been at like this. If you go back into, this past year of, what was happening back here in, right here in May, right? What broke out first? The Nasdaq, the IWM, right? They led. Right. And that's kind of what's happening right now. IWM is also, obviously in the gutter. But if we look at the broad market, Nasdaq's leading. Tech is leading. The same things that led back then. So things to be considering right now. Okay. Now let's go into stocks. I'm looking at what I'm looking at playing. Now, number one, I mentioned this on Friday's video. Again, if you're not following the channel, I don't know what to tell you. Also, too, all these charts were posted this weekend. You can see literally just a handful of charts posted. I don't know what else to say there. You had the inverse head and shoulders playing out. Absolutely beautiful. You are ready to rock it here on Tesla. CPI goes well. In my opinion, we're going to hit 234 and then 242 almost immediately. Now, I also do want to go into some of these option levels. Okay, so what we're looking at here is Options AI. This is the sponsor, and this is the only affiliated broker on this channel. We've tried to find brokers that simplify options for you guys, but also don't give you trash fills, and also have a very easy to understand platform for you. So this is kind of what we've worked with, and who we're kind of working with, even designing parts of their site as well to get features that we can actually implement and that you guys like as well. So again, we go in here, we go to calls. What were we looking at? There was a handful. I can go on a laundry list. I showed you guys, personally what I was liking, last week. I said more the 220s or 215s for December 15th. Those are back up heavy. Again, killing it, right? These are the names you like to see. So Tesla, I still like it. I still think you have room to run. If you want to go, a little bit more risky, I know a lot of you guys are, y'all like the risk, but I'm going to tell you right now, if CPI comes out good, I'm not going to say there's no risk, but the risk gets minimized dramatically. 240, 630, kind of beautiful. Not going to lie. Out of the money, though, you need to understand that, but you're playing for the gap fill at that point, and I do believe it will happen, and it will happen pretty fast. This level right here, we love to talk about illiquidity. This level right here, from 226 into 235, there's nothing. There's no liquidity. There's no sellers. You might have a little bit here at 231, but I just don't think you're going to hit anything. And you could argue you're pretty illiquid back into 242 as well. So again, it's going to happen. Pretty positive. Feel very good. Inverse head and shoulders playing out perfect. It's on Twitter, everything like that. Discord was already notified. Congratulations in Discord. Trade ideas here in Discord. Check this out as well. November 10th, Tesla getting really excited. Possible inverse head and shoulders from confirmation of over 218. But in case anyone wants to get a little bit aggressive, we mentioned down here at 215, right there, right? Before I went to Vegas, lived it up. Guess what? I let you guys get in the big money plays as well, right? Next up, Meta. I said this is probably my favorite setup on Twitter on the weekend. And I still believe it's my most exciting play that there is right now. Besides, Tesla's pretty good too. Meta. you have a clear ascending triangle on the daily chart. This thing is absolutely monstrous, an absolute monster. You're trying to break out as we speak. You came to the top of the range, 230 or 332, the level we already had marked. Literally haven't touched anything. It's going all the way back here, so you can see the previous high you had back here in April 2021. It was a 52-week high for a little bit. Came right into it, got rejected. Makes logical sense. You even have chart prime showing you that there's sellers stepping in right here as well. Again, the seller levels are huge because once you mount those, you're always seeing that liquidity just shoot straight back through. So we want to see a mount of that chart prime level as well. Okay. So what am I looking at here? So personally in Discord, what we did and what I bought. Okay. So these got up around 15% on the day. So in the 30K account, what we decided to do, or personally what I did. So Jay ended up getting some NVIDIAs, which we'll go over those here in a second. But the ones that I ended up grabbing were the 340 calls for January 19th, and they actually dropped a little bit. So I ended up grabbing another one here also. I think I got two of these things. So what we ended up getting was at 1265 here on Meta for January 19th. They were at around 1260 at the time. Okay. These ended up running to around 15, 14 on the day. Okay, I still like these. But again, when it goes into our 30K account, when we're looking to trade there, you need to understand where these are not really for day trades. These are more for longer term growth. So we're not looking to make, 30% in a matter of a few hours. They're safer, longer term plays for us, right? Because we have our day trade accounts and then we have our long term, which we're just looking to actively grow nonstop instead of leaving it like in a savings or something along those lines. So again, January 19th is what I liked. Again, we got to generate those trades, go to calls, just give you a viewpoint. We'll just go over where they were. 340s, you're probably like back at almost break even here. So again, but I mean, we ended up averaging back in. No, you're actually over it now. Save strike, 340s, currently back at like 1300 flat, give or take at the end of the day. It's going to have a little bit of a spread there. But you still like what's happening here. They ran really nice. They moved really great. And these are still the ones that I have. Being straight up transparent with you guys. Okay. So understand that I love Meta. And if you break out here again, I think this is going to be quick. It's going to be nice. I really do believe we could push two all-time highs. This is giving me the same feel and the same viewpoint that we're kind of seeing from like something like Microsoft and what we saw from Apple. Okay. So what did we see back here? Right. And I like to give past examples because it breaks it down just so clean. Right. So you come back in here. We have this like previous level, like right about there when we were pushing into all-time highs. And then you have your all-time high. This is from 2021, by the way. So make sure you understand that, right? So we broke into that and then we kind of pushed really quickly to the top of the range, chopped, and then we shot up. Obviously, we got that. Remember, we drew out the cup and handle. We went crazy. It was all on Twitter. Everyone saw it as well. But yeah, you ended up going crazy. That's what I believe can happen with Meta. I'm telling you, very similar structure to what happened to Apple back here. You came like into like the 176 range here. You kind of got trapped. You moved a little bit sideways. Earnings happened. You shot straight up. Meta has been cooking. They've been doing very good. We like what we're seeing there. Meta, big name that I'm liking a lot. Okay, I'm just keep it very transparent and honest with Meta. Absolutely love them. I'm not going to mention AVGO here because I already gave you guys the trade. So I'm sorry. There's no other, I know you guys are going to ask for updates. There's just not. I gave you guys it at 873. It was on Twitter. It was in Discord. It was everywhere. So you're already at all-time highs. There's nothing really to do there. NVIDIA. No, this is the big boy. And everyone's looking at this. And you're like, oh my God. Now there's a few things here you need to know. NVIDIA, the way down, pretty illiquid. Understand that. But where are you mounting now? It's very interesting that you're trying to mount this little level here. Okay, you could argue this was you could argue on like the 2 hour that this was a supply zone kind of establishing here, right? You could make that argument. Now you're breaking and mounting on top of that. Number one. Now, NVIDIA, in my opinion, is a little bit more fundamental here. We looked at almost every single semiconductor earnings, and they're all destroying. They're all smashing expectations finally. Because what we saw this whole year was just NVIDIA beating. Now everyone's kind of playing catch up. This really looks likely to hit all-time highs before earnings. Gonna say that. So what did we end up doing in the 30K account for a longer-term position? Jay ended up going with the, I believe, the 500, right? So he got the $500 calls for January 19th, which is after earnings, for 31 a pop. And again, these things were already up there. I think by the end of the day, they're already up almost $1,000. So we were looking kind of clean and fresh there. So at highs in the day, we were up really nice on those. But you still look good, right? That's why you want more dated. I want to make that really clear here. when you get these big breakouts on Nasdaq and we're getting this continuation, it's important to realize one thing. This is where the big opportunity steps in. And that's why I'm trying to like give more examples with like options AI and other settings of looking at what's happening with these trades, is so you guys can see why we want to let some of these trades run and the difference between short-term trading and longer-term trading. But I do think it's important to be able to separate those entirely, because it can be a little bit daunting when you look at, maybe some of the gains and losses there as well, right? So when I look back at these, I'm going to keep these, you need to keep watching these, right? So 500s, January 19th, right here. Continue right now. They're at 33.43. But originally it was at 31. They're going to be a little bit higher because the spread's going to be kind of down right now. But it's still absolutely cruising. You're fine. And you want to be able to sit comfortably in some of these positions so you can let them go. That's the really big thing here, especially if they start to get in the money. And then you're just playing with house money at that point as well, to where you're almost just moving like a leveraged stock. And that's when they become very, very valuable. So again, I'm trying to meet you guys in the middle and show you both sides of it. I know sometimes it can be a little bit boring. You're not too excited, but that's what I'm looking at here. There's no specific day trades that I'm just like in love with, right? It's more of the big setups that I'm liking here. Like Meta, Nvidia looks incredible. Tesla looks incredible. The names we've been mentioning, right? Tesla probably was the day trade, but that's it, right? CRM, cloud names, I'm telling you guys, very strong setups. They're trying to break out. CRM, still love them. We already bought some in the 30K account as well there. So that's what we're looking at. If you have questions, comment down below. More videos are coming. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully CPI. I'll keep you guys updated bright and early this morning. Have a good one. We'll be live tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central, so make sure you're there. Have a good one, traders.